Okay, welcome to the Lovecraft Easing Podcast, friends. The most important question I may have today before we get started is, well, first of all, our special guest is Mary SanGiovanni. Hey, Mary.
Hi, everyone.
I am saying that
Yep.
correctly, right?
Mhm.
Okay. Pete,
What?
why is Mandy mad at you?
There were 10 reasons Mandy's mad at me.
Uh-oh.
The 10th reason is that I don't know why Mandy's mad at me.
That's probably the first reason.
So that's basically 1 through 9.
Yeah. Number 11 apparently is the post that I posted about Mandy being mad at me.
I saw that and I'm like, is he out of his mind? You're going to be on the couch forever. Can I follow you around with a pencil and paper, just for relationship advice that I can write down?
So on Friday, I was driving my lovely wife to her medical procedure for which she's been fasting for 24 hours. I was listing off all the places I could possibly go for lunch while she was under.
That was unwise.
That was unwise.
That was unwise. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, the fans will want to delve into that more deeply later.
I'm really fascinated by this washout, sun sphere that's coming in through my window.
That's because you have light behind you. It's
yes,
not. You're a scientist. That's why.
It's like
okay.
It's like a Kubrick effect.
You look angelic.
Oh.
Yes. All right. I'm Mike Davis, host of the Lovecraft Easing Podcast, and I do quite a few other things involved with it that I won't get into, except to say that we also have a Patreon. I'll talk a little bit more about some really cool things we've got going on with it later. One of them was we talked about the Halloween 1992 faux documentary Ghost Watch. I'm about to post that. We talked about that recently. That was a fun chat, huh, guys?
Yeah.
So, and got to listen to it from the perspective of Emma Gibbon, author Emma Gibbon, who was there, who suggested the whole thing. And she was, I feel old even saying this, but 16 at the time. And it was a really neat perspective to hear about her watching it live while babysitting 4 younger brothers and sisters. It was great. Yeah. And we've got a new Patreon perk. So anyway, Pete, you want to mention anything about yourself? Do you do
I'm Pete Rollick. I write, I edit, I watch really bad movies so that you don't have to. And I'm really looking forward to Meth Gator.
Oh my God.
Because Asylum Pictures is one of the leading forefront motion picture studios on creating quality horror films.
Big budgets.
Big budgets.
I sense sarcasm.
So
listen, for those who have expressed concern about my hair, yes, I am getting a haircut one of these days. So thank you for your concern.
Have you guys not seen my Egon Spengler impersonation going on here?
Yeah. I love it.
Yeah, man.
You remember that time that you tried to drill a hole in your head?
Yes. Yes, I do.
That would have worked if I hadn't stopped you. Okay, one person who does not have a problem with long hair is Benjamin Handelman. Hey, Ben, you want to introduce yourself?
I'm Ben. I'm a fan and supporter of both the podcast and the Alien franchise, so very excited for today.
And Rick Lay, owner of the GOAT t-shirt that I sent him.
Which I'm not wearing today.
No, but he thought it was something to do with Shub-Niggurath,
Yeah.
and was very pleased to find out that it stands for greatest of all time, which he is. Rick knows everything, Mary.
Greatest of all time Shub-Niggurath worshiper.
That's right. Exactly.
Well, I got a haircut.
Okay, rub it in.
I haven't had a haircut since way before the pandemic.
Oh, really?
This is
Holy cow.
I have a lot of long hair.
Yeah.
Goes down to like past my hips at this point.
Oh, wow. Rick, you want to introduce yourself?
Rick Lay, writer and Pulp magazine collector.
And last but not least, Mike DeBronzo.
Hey, I'm Mike DeBronzo, architect, artist, and Alien fan.
Awesome.
Yeah, so Mary has written a book recently called Alien, Enemy of My Enemy. And we're going to talk about that. I wanted to ask you before, DeBronzo was going to mainly talk to you about that book. I'm going to talk to you about a few other things.
Okay.
But whoever else has alien questions, please. I interrupt DeBronzo repeatedly, so. But it looks like to me that the Kindle version is available now, but the print version is available in March. Am I looking at that right on Amazon?
I believe so. It was supposed to come out the 21st. And then I think because of the paper shortages.
February, you mean?
Of February, yes.
Okay.
And then because of the paper shortages and whatnot, they pushed it back to March 14th. However, I'm told that the ebook is out, and I've seen.
It looks like on Amazon you can buy it right now.
Yeah, I think the ebook is available, and I think that I'm assuming it must be review copies that have gone out, because I've seen some paperback versions in the wild, but very, very few. So I'm assuming that it must be review copies that people are posting.
Well, it is for those who listen and or watch this, and you're like, I gotta have this book right now. I don't want to wait till March 14th. If you're a Kindle person, it is available right now on Amazon for $9.99. So I just checked the audiobook. Looks like it comes out when the paperback comes out, March 14th. So that's just a little FYI before DeBronzo starts talking to you. On Mary's, this is a really good summation. Queen of Cosmic Horror, according to Christopher Golden, talk about our guest, Mary SanGiovanni. Mary is an award-winning American horror and thriller writer of over 20 cosmic horror and supernatural thriller books, as well as numerous short stories, comics, including, I have to hear about this later, a Wonder Woman story for DC. I read a lot of DC comics, and I may have missed this one, or maybe I read it and didn't notice your name.
That was for the House of Horror that they did. Which I understand, because I've done some comic stuff, but very little, and I understand it was sort of like DC used to do the sort of what if kind of stories.
They do Elseworlds, yes.
So it's all superheroes, but in horror settings.
They're about to do a new
Superman.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. Go ahead.
Oh yeah, I mean, it's pretty cool. It's pretty neat. Like I think Wrath James White did one, Ed Lee did one, Brian Keene did one.
Yeah.
There's like a whole bunch of us that did like horror versions. So mine's sort of a horror version of Wonder Woman. It was a lot of fun. It was really cool. Keith Giffen did the art, I believe. And yeah, we had a lot of fun doing that.
Can you give me that title again?
It was the DC House of Horror.
DC House of Horror. I'm sorry I interrupted you. I just got so excited because they're about to do, I'll talk about this later, but they're about to do another DC horror thing.
Oh,
So
cool.
that'll be a lot of fun. So anyway, a media tie-in book in the Alien franchise, you don't say, and nonfiction. Master's degree in writing popular fiction.
Mm-hmm.
Currently a member of the Authors Guild. something about some Brian Keene guy podcast. Um, this is really interesting that I want to ask you about later. She has the distinction of being one of the first women to speak about writing at the CIA headquarters in Langley, Virginia. So that just strikes me as a very interesting sentence that I would like to know more about. So, but I'll let DeBronzo ask you about Alien, and then we'll go from there, if that's all right.
Sure.
So, yeah. Okay, Mike. Thanks.
Okay. So, Mary, Enemy of My Enemy. Can you give us like a brief synopsis? Well, say whatever you want. What's your book about?
Okay. Basically, Titan is putting out new Alien novelizations, or not, I guess not novelizations of the movies, but and some of the video games and just brand new fiction titles set in the Alien world. And Enemy of My Enemy, I was hoping that they'd give me a little leeway to try something different, and they did. Essentially, there is a pharmaceutical research colony on a moon that is now being pulled out of orbit and is about to crash into the dead planet that it revolves around. And so this skeleton crew of Seegson Pharmaceuticals, which is a sort of rival company to Weyland-Yutani, they're sort of finishing up last minute research work and getting all of their records out, back to Seegson headquarters, and then they're supposed to be evacuated from this moon before it crashes, and they get a distress signal from the Weyland-Yutani group that's several miles away on like the other side of the moon, and they go, that's a bioweapons research facility, and of course, because it's Weyland-Yutani, they're messing with things they shouldn't be, and and they find out that one of the, and I don't think this is so much a spoiler, but they find out that the research going on there is, has to do with the xenomorphs and with certain drugs that they can give people to slow down the incubation period. Because in the movies, the incubation period is, I think we had figured out that it's somewhere between like 6 and 10 hours between the time that the face huggers, hug your face, and the time that the alien bursts out of you. And this slows it down to about 3 weeks. But then the alien that comes out of you is much more aggressive, much more hostile, and much stronger. And so and now Seegson, finding this out, doesn't want to evacuate them, so they have to figure out how to get off this moon before it crashes and still hold the aliens at bay, and get to a place where they think they're going to be safe. And the title actually comes from, and again, I'm not trying, because it's new, I don't want to give spoilers, but it comes from the situation that arises when the survivors of this first part get to where they're going, because then it's almost like a frying pan fire situation.
Yeah, the title becomes very relevant once we get to a certain point in the novel.
Exactly.
So, and that's one of the things when I'm asking you questions, that I'm trying to steer away from spoilers.
Right.
So, but can I ask you, with synopsis of the book, how did you get involved with the Alien franchise? Like, how did this all come to be? Because this is your first book in the Alien.
This is my
universe?
first. Yes, this is my first book of the Alien franchise, and my understanding with a lot of media tie-in work, in my experience, it's usually a publishing company will get the license to something and will then start kind of putting out feelers for writers that they know and can trust, and that have some, familiarity at the very least with the properties that they're licensing. And a lot of times in my experience, they try to find people who love the property and know it, because then it takes less, I guess, training about the property that you're working in, because people already know it and they're already comfortable with it. They know the feel that the franchise holders are looking for. And in this case, if you look at the first Alien movie, it's a horror movie, hands down. The second Alien movie, Aliens, is an action movie. Now, it has horror elements in it, but it's a slightly different approach. And what they found, I think 20th Century Fox found, was that diehard Alien fans like both. So they've been gearing a lot of the, with varying degrees of success, I would say, a lot of the movies, the video games, the RPG, the comic books, they've been gearing them to be a balance of both. And that was kind of what they tasked us with. The way I got involved with it, it was because the editor was looking to incorporate more female writers. If you look at the omnibuses that have been put out in the past, in large part, they're written by men. And the Titan is making a concerted effort to have more diverse voices, in the stable doing media tie-in work. And they wanted to have more women voices in this, which makes sense. I mean, if you think about it, in Aliens, the protagonist is a female, and the antagonist, the main antagonist, is a female, and the main survivor is a female. So it would make sense that this is a franchise that understands the strong female approach to horror. So they wanted women to write it. And Weston Oakes, who has done at least one book in the Alien franchise, had recommended me, which I thought was very sweet, because he knew I was looking to do some media tie-in work. He knows that I love Alien, the whole franchise, and recommended me. And because of the Kathy Ryan series that I did with Kensington, one of them is a somewhat sci-fi horror type of book. And they asked me to submit a sample novel to show that I could do sort of sci-fi horror, and I sent them that. And so they approved me. So they gave me the job, and I was delighted. I was so excited.
That's awesome. Because as I'm reading your novel, I'm a huge fan of the movies. Well, I love the first two movies, and then it's, diminishing returns.
Mm-hmm.
But in general, I'm a big Alien fan, and I know there's a lot of medium where it's video games and the comic books. And as I'm reading your book, I'm like, this is all interconnected, because I'm seeing things from, I don't know if it would be spoilers to name other characters from other properties. So I'll leave that to you, what you want to say. But I'm like, there's a lot going on, but did they give you like a Bible to go, this is our universe, don't use this, you can use that?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. There were a few things I wasn't allowed to do. And I don't think it's any kind of, violation of a NDA or anything like that, to say that the first thing they told me that they were very adamant about was that the aliens up to this point in canon are not actually sentient creatures, which surprised me, because if you look at, say, Aliens, the Queen does seem able to communicate with the drones, and does seem to recognize the threat that Ripley is posing to the eggs, which I would think is kind of a sentience, but they were very adamant. They said no, that in canon, they are very, very highly evolved predators, but they are still animals. And so that was one of the things. They also said that, and to be honest, I'm not exactly 100% sure on the details, but that the predator presence in the alien world, that not everything that has been done there is canon. So they said, don't put the predators in there. You can't have that. So I was trying to think of other things that I can do. And then they hand me this Bible. They gave me a timeline that started, I think, in 2012 and goes to something like 2387. So, and it includes, it's very detailed. It includes the birth dates, the death dates, when characters went into the service, when they got their main jobs, when they got married, when they had children, when they died, anything you could ever possibly know, including slotted in there the movies and the novels and the computer game and the role-playing games. And I think to some extent, some of the comics that are in canon, they're all on this list. So I got a timeline. I had a point of contact, like 3 different people who were points of contact for me if I had any questions about when things happen, like the planet, the Fury planet in the 3rd Alien book. Originally I had made reference to a prison planet and thought I could use that one, but in double checking with my contact person, she said no, that prison planet closed like 2 years before you're saying this would happen. So, I mean, it was great. They gave me links to videos, which you can find online. If, for folks who are interested in this kind of thing, you can find the links online. People have done extensive videos on the portion of the galaxy where Alien takes place, and which government at which point owns which planets, and how like the galaxy is all sort of segmented between the governments that own the planets and then the sort of like freestanding planets, which are basically run by gangsters. And it's fascinating stuff. I mean,
it is really cool.
It is a deep rabbit hole of information. And they gave me, and they also gave me, a Bible in the sense of what 20th century looks to accomplish when they make the movies, and what kind of feel I should be going for, and that kind of stuff. And that was kind of neat too. Like I was really delighted to do the research because it's my contribution in canon to a franchise that I absolutely love. And but there was also some research I had to do on my own, like the Conestoga ship that I mentioned. I'm not real good with like military stuff. I've never had the honor of serving in the military. So all this military stuff I had to do my own research on, the length of the ship, the floor plan of the ship, what their uniforms look like, where their flashlights would be located, the kind of weapons they use, and all of that information it's out there. Like Alien fans are diehard fans, and there's Wikipedia pages dedicated to, and they're far as I can tell, sanctioned by 20th Century Fox, like Wikipedia information out there telling you, this is what this weapon looks like. This is the person who designed it in this, and it was used from this year to this year by this group of people. And it's fascinating. I mean, what I was basically looking at, given when my book takes place, is well over 100 years of history of the world, of the galaxy, in putting this together.
Yeah, it's because I know Ben's going to jump in here with a question in a second, but it's just that as I'm reading, I'm like, if say your only point of reference is the movies, of Weyland-Yutani, you really don't know of anything else. And when you get to Resurrection, it's 200 years in the future, it's always Weyland-Yutani, or by that point they're gone. But reading the book, I'm like, well, the universe is, humans have spread out further into the galaxy because there's a lot of different factions and organizations, and I'm like, I've missed some things. So that's why that's why I kind of thought of that question, because it's just like, things are complicated, especially when we're going from 1979 to the present day. So a lot is coming into existence. So I was just curious about that, because that, as a writer, that's got to be, I guess it's fun and it gives you parameters, which can help, but it's also got to be a challenge, because you've got to meet all these, you can't do this and you can do that. So I was very curious about that.
It's a challenge in that because a lot of the world building is done for you, but then it occurred to me too that I would like people to be able to read this book and at least be able to understand from the context the things that are referenced in it, which are part of that interconnectedness. But say, like, if you are only familiar with, say, the movies, and you haven't read the comic books or the RPG or anything like that, never played the computer game, if you're not taking those deep dives into, I still wanted it to be a book that you could understand. So I tried to make a lot of that contextually make sense, like the government's, I mean, it's assumed, I believe, that if you're reading like my novel and the 2 or 3 that came before mine, and if you've seen Prometheus, that you'd at least have a passing reference to the black goo, and that does figure prominently into the state of the galaxy at the point that my book takes place.
Yeah.
So but I did, I mean, Brian Keene and I made him sit down and watch Aliens, I think, and then I think we could skip over like some of the middle ones, but then I made him go back and watch Prometheus with me and the sequel to Prometheus, and because that does make reference to things that are now at this point in the galaxy starting to affect the socio-political stuff that's going on. So I mean, it's a lot. It's almost an overwhelming amount of information. And then you have to also have sort of a standalone story within it, and that standalone story, any innovative ideas you come up with have to be approved by Titan. They have to be approved by Disney. They have to make sure that you're not stepping on anybody's toes who's doing anything that comes after you, that it's all going, I not only had to like make sure it was consistent going backwards, I had to make sure it was consistent with projects that were happening simultaneously to mine and going forward in the future.
Also, there's the movie that's coming out on Hulu.
Mm-hmm.
So like nobody knows anything about that, but I'm sure that that's got to be kept in mind too, because like you said, if it's canon, it's canon.
And there is I think they're doing a lot more development on the RPG games. So a lot of, I think, what is informing the thing that's coming out on Hulu is related to the RPG games, and so my novel is kind of like, it's kind of like in the middle. I from what I understand, it's sort of in the middle here, where it's a bunch of little loose ends, and sort of establishing things that will happen moving forward. And that's kind of cool. I kind of like the idea that I have that little place in alien history now.
Can I interject just really quickly? And I think Ben has something too. But first of all, I just want to say that it's definitely got to be a challenge to create, write a book that's accessible to the casual alien viewer, but then is satisfying enough for those who are really involved in the lore, deep in the lore. So there's that. Prometheus, and I guess it must have flown under my radar. I didn't realize there was a sequel to Prometheus. Covenant? Okay. What did you? Yeah, go ahead.
That was just, I think it did, because I think Prometheus was critically met with mixed feelings, maybe. But Covenant is a pretty much a direct sequel to Prometheus, and honestly, before I started researching it, I knew it was there, but I'd never seen it. So but yeah, it's sort of they're both sort of prequels to everything that establish how this black goo has affected things over the next, I would guess, the next like 200 years, I think 300 years.
Not to move away from your book, but just very quickly, what did you think of Prometheus and the sequel? personally.
I like them. I understand why people had an issue with it. Prometheus doesn't focus so much, like when we think of alien stories, we think of monster stories, and I imagine that, like, on some level, Alien, Predator, they appeal to the people who like the big, monster versus monster kind of thing, or like they want to see the monster. They want to see the alien, like, wreaking havoc and acidy spitting at people, and the prequels don't really have a lot of that. They're not focusing on it. The main antagonists in the prequels are more the androids and the people, and we only even see an alien, I think, at the very end. But what we see is the genesis of the aliens, and basically that the engineers who sort of figure into the whole history as these sort of mystical, godlike figures, I guess, across the galaxy, that, from what I can tell, they basically went from planet to planet collecting DNA and then messing around with it to make bioweapons, so that if they did create life on a planet and then decided later on that they didn't like it, they would just turn loose these aliens. Now, I do think that the xenomorphs had an origin planet where they came from, and this is where the engineers took their DNA and found that it was very versatile. It was like it was versatile enough, I guess, that they could mix it with other things and make all different kinds of weapons. And it was like kids playing with Play-Doh.
Well, it struck me as more existential and somewhat Lovecraftian.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. And it's kind of neat that one of the things about cosmic horror I always liked was that there's incredible versatility, both in the subgenre itself and in thematically. There's a lot of fluidity, fluidity of reality, fluidity of sanity, that kind of thing. And the aliens, to me, are so much fun because they are such a fluid type of creature. Like, their survival adaptation methods are based on whatever host DNA, whatever host they're inside of. They can adapt some of the best parts of that when they burst out of you, and it changes their shape. It changes whether they walk on 2 legs or 4 legs, and I think that's kind of neat that there's that
I never knew. That is neat.
It is, and it's one of those things that it's very subtly done in the movies, and I was hoping that they would let me play with that a little bit in the book, and they did. So there's one alien in there that is kind of, am I allowed to say badass? You can bleep me if I can't.
Fuck yeah, you can say badass.
It's pretty badass, if I do say so myself, because they let me play with, because if you've noticed, in other than the engineers, you very rarely ever see other alien life forms in the franchise other than the xenomorphs. You do in the comic books, apparently, and I haven't read extensively the comic books, but apparently the comic books do show other non-sentient beings, and if I had to venture a guess, and this is purely speculation, folks, purely speculation, I have no reason to believe that there's anything in the works along this line. I think that if you had, say, aliens that got a hold of very highly evolved, very intelligent beings and burst out of them, you might have more, sentient-like type aliens. But I mean, up until this point, it's mostly, I mean, this, us, like human beings and the engineers, I think, are the only humanoid things we ever really see the aliens have access to. But it doesn't mean that they couldn't, say, find a host in a very, very, very powerful animal-like predator, which I have them do in the book. And it was so much fun. It was so much fun writing about aliens with, different types of body parts that they can, add on, because their taking over, creatures that are on this moon. So,
well, I'm such a DC dork that my mind just immediately went to, what if there was they found a Kryptonian and had some kryptonite nearby so that they could, implant themselves in whatever the word is, and then they burst out of this Kryptonian, and now you got aliens that can shoot beams out of their eyes.
right. I think the possibilities are endless, and I don't know if that was the intention with the first movie.
Yeah.
Probably. I mean, with the first of any movie, you get the impression that they never really expect it to blow up as big as it does. But I would think that by the second or third movie, they had to see that the potential is there, because in one of the movies, I forget which one, it does burst out of a dog, which is why. Is it the third one? Which is why we see it, kind of galloping on all fours, as opposed to in the first movie where it walked on two legs because it came out of a person.
Depending on if you watch the director's cut or the regular theatrical, it's a dog in one and it's an ox, I want to say, in the other. But it's still obviously it's still the same end result.
Yeah.
Ben?
And when I was writing this, I had two friends who are just huge Alien fans, and I said, okay, so I said, tell me, what would you like to see? What have the movies not done, and what would you want to see in an alien property? And one of the things was, we would like to see them mixing with things other than people. And so I was able to do that. And the other one was, they wanted to know, like, when if you hurt if you hurt an alien, and but it's still on top of a person, what happens when, what would their blood do to the host? And I was like, oh, I got this. I can make that happen too. So I was able to get in some pretty gruesome stuff, just for fun, because that's what we do.
Right. And you have a question.
So going back to what you were saying a few minutes ago about like how detailed the Bible is, the timeline, like I've got a spreadsheet here with 54 novels on it, between like the stuff that came out in the 90s, the 2000 series from Dark Horse. I even have the Prometheus Japanese novelization.
Nice.
They didn't come out with an American one. So there's like, there's a lot there. And it's funny because when the movies were big, Fox wasn't doing any of this. There was no Bible. So you had novels coming out, and then Alien 3 comes out and immediately contradicts all the novels. And then they do more novels, and then Alien Resurrection comes out and immediately contradicts all of those novels. So I was curious, like, what are your thoughts on why we're seeing kind of this resurgence of media? Because like the last two films, I enjoyed them, but they didn't do well, and their critics hated them. And yet we're seeing like this, the RPG is very popular. We're seeing all these novels, and we're seeing Fox actually care for the first time about like all of these continuity points. What do you think kind of led to that, and how's that kind of does that enhance your kind of desire to write, or would you have preferred that more loosey-goosey way back in the past?
For me personally, I'm one of those people, like, if I am part of a fandom, if I really, if I'm really into something, I want it to be consistent. I want to, and I would think that a lot of fans, if they're really diehard fans, because there's a point of pride in being able to say, well, actually, and be able to talk about the thing that you love, and have a sort of frame of reference for when people do take it in a different direction. I can't say for absolute sure, so don't quote me on this, folks, but I think that a lot of the books in the 90s are not considered canon. I think the movies are.
To my knowledge, none of the comics and books before the recent group of them. So everything back in the 90s and the 2000s is all the Dark Horse stuff is tossed out.
That's the impression I got. Yeah, that it's almost like if we were going to look at it in a DC sort of way, it's like a what if, I would guess that there's probably a couple of different things all sort of happening at once that might explain the resurgence. Like, I know that Stranger Things you know, that a lot of sort of popular culture now, because it appeals to, say, you know, people my age, you know, who remember, who are maybe the little kids, you know, age when Stranger Things is supposed to be taking place, but are grown-ups now. We remember playing Dungeons and Dragons, you know, and we remember that it wasn't necessarily cool, but it's cool now. You know, there's Dungeons and Dragons clubs at the high schools, and there's that resurgence in role-playing games, which I think that 20th Century Fox kind of saw coming and capitalized on. Like, oh, hey, well, we can do, like, in fact, the novel, my book at the very end has a module for the RPG game that has to do with events that are referenced but not detailed in my book. And I think that, you know, which kind of makes me feel like I've come full circle, because I love the idea that I can contribute to an RPG as well. You know, I love Dungeons and Dragons as a kid. So I think there's that. I think that a lot of people say, Gen Z, millennial, you know, younger millennials, they're discovering RPGs. You know, they've always loved video games. And I think that, I think 20th Century is seeing that, okay, well, you know, we can, if we can get to them on multiple fronts, you know, but if we're going to do that, we have to make it consistent. So they've put together what they can consider canon, what has been consistent since the 70s, and going forward, how they can sort of interact, make everything sort of interconnect in a way that makes sense. And I also think that we're at a strange place when it comes to, and it's not just horror, but it does seem to be very prominent across speculative fiction, science fiction, fantasy, horror, where what was popular in the 80s and 90s was we're grown-ups now. You know, we were kids then, we loved it as kids, we're grown-ups now, so we're in the seat making the movies, making the video games, so we're bringing back a lot of nostalgic things that we loved. And then but we're doing it in a way where enough time has passed that we can introduce it to another generation and make it popular there. So I'm guessing that's what it comes down to. And they figure, okay, well, if we're going to be in the spotlight, if we're going to be doing this prominently, let's do it right. And let's have it all be consistent and be like a real lore that, you know, real mythology that we can anchor to, you know, this sort of ongoing universe, you know?
Well, I know in the past, usually like back in the 90s, only Star Trek and Star Wars would do that. Everyone else would avoid it because they were worried about scaring away casual viewers, or, you know, oh, hey, I saw the Aliens movie, I want to pick up this book, but oh, it references these 7 other novels, like, oh my gosh, what do I do? But I think long term, there's that benefit that you're talking about, that fans really get into it. So you as an author get to play with the extra toys, and fans get to, oh, I know this character's referenced in this other book I have, or, oh, hey, I find out this character is in a previous novel, I want to go buy that novel now. And you really see that kind of more deep fandom that really gets to enjoy that stuff. I mean, the RPG book is, the core rule book is unbelievable. It's, I can't believe how much effort they put into, like, the way they laid it out, like the world building they did in there, even just how beautiful it looks when you're flipping through the pages. That's not something, like, there was an Aliens RPG back in the late 80s, early 90s. It's like printed on the cheapest paper. It's got like very little information. It's the weirdest thing. And it's terrible because back then no one thought about using these different pieces of media other than to advertise the film. So I think it's interesting to see this kind of expansion and growth, because a lot of the recent novels have been fantastic. And no insult to like Steve and Stephanie Perry and all those guys back in the past, but they had a lot less to work with, and they were expected to just churn out these tie-in novels over and over again.
Right.
And you know, the recent writers, you guys have been really building kind of something that it's a joy to read. Like, you sit there and you really get immersed in the world as an adult. You don't feel like you're reading something that was written to kind of just hand to someone that's waiting for the next movie to come out. So I can really appreciate that. And then related to that, like where in this kind of larger world, like time-wise, where does yours take place? Because there's a lot of the novels, there's kind of a, as you mentioned, there's a couple hundred years to work with there.
They told me specifically what year it was. They told me it was 2187. There was a little bit of confusion, I think. At first I thought it was 2186, but from the schedule they gave me, from the timeline they gave me, it was 2187. And that is relevant because there are certain things happening across the galaxy during that period of time politically. And the novel right before mine also takes place the same year, but in a different part of the galaxy. And yeah, I mean, it's like you said, I think it used to be more haphazard because it was, well, you know, it's basically just stuff to promote the movie. Like, if you like this, it'll tide you over till the next movie comes out. I think the focus has shifted, and that could be maybe because of COVID, because we got more into streaming. So now it's not so much like, hey, we're waiting for the big blockbuster in the theater to come out. We're waiting for accessible media, you know, and in that time, I think it's shifted from the focus has shifted from movies to video games, to streaming, to role-playing games, because they're things you can do now. They're things you can do at home. And I think that's because of that, and because role-playing games have always had that sort of standard rule book, you know, that interconnectedness to other things that you can basically build an expanding world from. I think that's the approach they took with this, and I kind of like that. I like that that they're. It used to be a long time when I first started writing, a long time ago. It used to be that media tie-in work, for whatever reason, was almost kind of looked down on. You know, it was the kind of thing where, like, oh well, you know, you're basically doing work for hire, and it was almost like a dirty thing to do, even though media tie-in work has always, at least as long as I've been in the business, historically paid better than, you know, fiction does. But now I think it's seen as something that an opportunity for you to, you know, contribute to mythologies in a way. And you know, as a Lovecraft fan, as a cosmic horror writer, who doesn't want to contribute to lasting mythologies? You know?
Yeah, I remember back in the 90s, pastiche used to be like the dirty word, right? Like, oh, you're writing a Star Trek pastiche or a Conan pastiche or something. And my guess is that probably actually changed with probably, I think it was first Peter David had a bunch of New York Times best-selling Star Trek novels. Michael Stackpole wrote a bunch of best-selling Star Wars novels. I mean, you put enough money out there, all of a sudden anything doesn't seem so disreputable anymore, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, you got Judith and Garfield Reese Stevens, who did probably one of the best Star Trek novels out there, Federation. And there's quite a few from even the 80s, but it did used to be looked at like that. Yeah.
There's a quote from, Harlan Ellison, where people say, oh, how can you go to Hollywood and work out there for those people? And he's like, I go out there for 3 months. They pay me a dump truck full of money, and then I get to work on whatever I want for the rest of the year.
And that's really how it was presented. At some point, it's like, well, you can write maybe one novel that you love writing a year, and maybe get paid for it. You know, maybe hope to sell it, or maybe every 2 years or 3 years, or you do, you know, something that pays you really well, so that you have the money to keep writing a bunch of things that you really like, that's yours, that's original. And you know, heck yeah, you know, you can't turn down when you're paying bills and planning for a wedding, and you know, trying to make sure, you know, your kid gets through college or whatever. You take the gigs that pay good money, and you know, media tie-in work does pay pretty well.
And as a fan, it's fantastic because we actually get good Alien or whatever novels now. Like, I can actually look forward, like, oh, there's a new Alien novel. I can actually look forward to it not like cringe halfway through the novel, like, oh, wow,
Well, see,
this is terrible.
I think that is because, personally, I think that's because if Titan did something smart in wanting to open things up to diverse voices. If you're, statistically, if you're a woman in horror, you're maybe like 30 to 40% of the population that's writing horror out there. And if historically this kind of work, these big gigs, these like very prominent, well-paying gigs have been given to men, and now they're saying, okay, well, you know what, you're a girl, we'll give you a shot, we'll let you try this out, right? You want to bring your A game so that nobody ever doubts that decision, that they are glad that they gave you that chance. And I think it does benefit the fans, because then what you're getting is work where we're really trying hard to make sure that we're doing right by the fans, that we're researching it, that we're bringing substance to it instead of just writing some type of knockoff. Like, we're really trying hard to make them good books, and then of course that ends up benefiting everybody.
I really think there's something to what you're saying, because as you're talking about this, I'm thinking about my 3 favorite Star Trek books, ever since I was young, from the 80s, 90s, and so on. All 3 of them are written by women, with Federation being written by husband and wife. But the other 2 women, of course, there's other Star Trek books that I enjoy, but I always remember thinking, reading these books that they didn't phone it in. They brought their A game. They wrote it like they were writing, one hell of the best novel that they could write. It doesn't matter if it was Star Trek or Alien or whatever. And yeah, I think there's a lot to what you're saying.
Yeah, I can't speak for all the publishers, but I know Pocket, when they were doing Star Trek in the 80s, that was one of the big things, is they would publish all these women authors, even back into the 70s with the property, when at the time women in science fiction would have to write under pseudonyms or with initials to get published at all. Star Trek was one of the few outlets for female science fiction writers.
Yeah.
And I mean, obviously the landscape's changed a lot over the last 40, or I mean, since Mike was a kid, 100 years ago. So wow. It's just, wow. But it is nice to kind of see that, like, we've been able to kind of benefit from the increased diversity, because that desire to, like, hey, this is my chance to write that science fiction novel that a publisher wouldn't accept before.
Exactly.
And I'm gonna do my best.
Yeah.
DeBronzo, any last questions before? I've got a couple for Mary, and then we've got another guest coming in for just a few minutes to talk about Dreams on the Witch House PC game. So.
Oh, cool. I guess just one to wrap it up. You seem to think that you had a lot of fun doing this.
Oh, I did.
Playing in the sandbox. Would you do it again if they offered you, or
Absolutely.
is there plans for you to do more?
There's nothing official. I mean, I was told that the opportunity would be there, that the chance would be there. I would love to do another one.
When it sells like hotcakes, they'll be like, Mary SanGiovanni's got to write another one.
Right. And I think that's kind of what they're waiting to see. I mean, I don't want to put it in such mercenary terms, but I think they're probably waiting to see how this does.
Unfortunately, it is what it is,
Yeah, and if it does well, then okay, well, you made us money before, and that's what I think a lot of writers forget, is that what it comes down to is it's a business, and if I make them money, because I brought my A game, then I get that chance. I might get that chance again. I would love to do Alien. I know that Titan also has the license to Conan the Barbarian, and I kind of want to try one of those. I think that would be fun.
Nice.
I think it'd be fun to have Conan the Barbarian written by a woman.
Yeah, I don't think that hasn't been done, has it?
I don't think so.
It has
not in the novels. It has in the comic books.
Okay.
Meredith Finch actually wrote a really fantastic one-shot or single-issue story for Marvel a couple of years ago. It was really great.
Yeah, see, I think it'd be fun, because I think I think that in the past, I mean, it's a very masculine kind of story. It's men's
Oh,
fantasy,
he's a
men's
masculine
adventure.
guy. All right.
Yeah.
Old Conan.
But I mean, and maybe up to that point they thought, well, women wouldn't understand that. And I just kind of want to be like, honey, if you've been a woman on this planet, you've met Conan many, many, many times.
So,
And yes, I think I could write Conan the Barbarian.
Nice.
yeah. Well, okay. So I'm going to have in the show notes, whether you're watching on YouTube or, listening on Apple or Spotify or whatever later, I'll have in the show notes a link to Alien, Enemy of My Enemy. So
Thank you.
yeah, please buy it, folks. Please buy it and
Yeah,
read it. And
Definitely.
then, hopefully Mary can have the opportunity to write another one.
That would be delightful.
So-
I would appreciate that, folks.
So,
Thank you.
Auntie, I don't know if I'm saying your name right because we've only communicated through email, but
That's okay.
if you give me about 5 minutes, then we're going to be chatting with you too.
Okay.
So anyway, everybody go buy that book. You can buy it right now,
Mhm.
on Kindle if you want, and be reading it this evening. Tell me about the Langley thing. That's pretty cool.
Oh, that's okay. So, the CIA and we're talking about non-disclosure agreements.
Yeah.
I know there's certain things I can't say, but for the most part, I can definitely answer that. The CIA cares enough about their agents to want them to be well-rounded and relaxed people. So apparently, they have a lot of clubs for agents to join, as like hobbies or, sort
Wow.
of avocational kinds of things, and one of them is a writing club. And they had originally, I believe they had Brian Keene, F. Paul Wilson, and J.F. Gonzalez come to Langley to talk about writing for the writing club. And while they were there, the CIA, they kind of pick your brain about, okay, well, you guys write horror. And there was, I think Brian's been there a couple times, and one was to talk to the writing club, one was to talk to them about, since your job is to think up horrific experiences that could or could not happen, what kind of scenarios are we not allowed to talk about that?
I don't think so.
Okay. Well, I didn't. They didn't tell me.
I didn't hear
could talk
any-
about it.
Hey, we don't need an editor, Keen.
Ryan came flying down the stairs. He's like, I don't know if we're allowed to talk about that.
We don't need a censor, Keen.
Basically, they. Oh, okay. Well, let's just say that they. They are interested.
It was a neat
in how we
experience.
think.
That's all.
It was an experience. They're interested in how we think. But as far as my part in it goes, it went so well with the writing club and with this sort of picking their brain about things that that they had them come back, I think 1 or 2 times after that. And then they thought, well, like, let's bring it, we've got women in our club, let's bring in some women writers. And as soon as they said that, I was like, oh, me.
That's great.
I was so excited. And it was great. I mean, we almost got shot going in there because we went in the wrong door. And
That'll do
CIA
it.
security has very, very, very big guns. I mean, the biggest guns I've ever seen, like the length of a human being. It's crazy.
Wow.
And so so you do have to go in the right parking lot. You have to go in the right door. And they have all these security measures to make sure that we're not giving out secrets to the world or anything like that. But it's cool. I mean, they've got a gift shop and they've got a cafeteria. They've got museum with CIA tech going at least as far back as the 50s and 60s.
It's cool that they have all these different clubs to keep their people sane.
Yeah, and I thought that was really great. I mean, they gave us a little tour of the place, and then they, then we got to talk about writing to the writers, and it was this whole they put us in this boardroom, right? And so there's all these agents there with pads of paper and pens, and they're very serious. They're taking notes while we're talking, and all their name tags are turned over because some of them work on sensitive things, and we're not supposed to know who's working on what. And it just, I don't know, it felt so cool. It felt like being in a spy movie, and we wanted to ask them questions, and they're like, no, we can't talk about us. You talk. We want to ask you questions. We want to talk to you. We're like, yeah, but you're saving lives. You're protecting the country. We're writing about giant monsters eating people and spitting out their feet.
You know, I'm imagining Paul at the CIA, and just hilarious scenarios are coming to mind. So.
Oh yeah, we got to go to the gift shop, and they got like little CIA mugs and mouse pads and pens, and I got a CIA pen. It was very cool.
So just a couple of questions, and I'll let you go. But well, first of all, thank you for doing this.
Oh, thank you for having me. I know I talk a lot.
Hey, it's a successful show when the guest is talking a lot, So hey, regarding your other work, let's say someone's watching and or listening to the show, and they're like, okay, I've heard of Mary SanGiovanni, but I've never gotten any of her books. And I'm not particularly interested in aliens, this potential person is thinking. But what should I pick up of hers? Where should I start? Should they start with the Kathy Ryan or elsewhere, or what would you recommend?
Usually what I recommend, because almost everything I write is cosmic horror. It is all connected. It all happens in the same universe, more or less.
Oh, neat. Yes.
Which is fun. It's a lot of fun. So The Hollower was my first novel. A lot of people seem to like that one, which I always surprises writers when your first novel is the one that fans seem to really like. It's like, oh no, I've done so many better things since then. The two that I usually recommend, it depends on what folks like, but Thrall and Feremi are my two personal favorites. Of the Kathy Ryan books, I would say Behind the Door is my favorite.
Kathy Ryan's described as, pardon the interruption, but true detective meets H.P. Lovecraft in this.
Yep.
Mystery, so.
Yeah, if you like sort of crime type stuff, but that ultimately has a cosmic horror reason for happening, then you'd probably like the Kathy Ryan books. I mean, and the one that actually got me the gig doing the alien novel was a Kathy Ryan book. It was Beyond the Gate, which takes place in another dimension, mostly, in another planet, in another universe.
Well, I do like that sort of things, and I haven't read those yet, so I'm gonna have to do that.
Oh yeah, they're a lot of fun too. But my two personal favorites are Thrall and Feremi, and because they're, when they say, write the kind of cosmic horror, or write the kind of horror that scares you, or write the kind of horror you'd want to read. That was, I think, those two books I took that most to heart, I think, writing those. So
this is an interesting, I guess this is my last question, but this is such an interesting title, and I haven't read this one yet either. I have read several of your books, but this is called The Hollower. And and it's got a really neat cover, very creepy cover, and The Hollower, not holler, but HOLLOW, as in hollow. What is this book about? And it looks like people can pick it up for $2.99 on Kindle, so it's quite a bargain.
Yes, yeah, that one's on sale on Kindle. The Hollower is I thought of it as a boogeyman story. I real briefly, my father was always my first reader, and when I was trying to come up with a first novel, I was saying, well, what about this idea? And he'd be like, oh, that's been done before. What about this? No, that's been done before. And he kept, so I said, okay, well, what about like a boogeyman story where I'll just go out of my way to make it as strange as possible. And it's an interdimensional being. In fact, the Hollowers are the reason all my other books happen. So I guess maybe the Hollower would be a good place to start, because the Hollowers are dimension jumpers. They move between dimensions, and every time they do it, they cause rips in the things that keep the dimensions separated.
Yeah.
And they're absolutely disgusted with humans, but they feed on them. They feed on insecurities. They feed on skewed perceptions, all these sort of intangible things about us that would eventually you know, if left unchecked would destroy us.
Mhm.
They make them worse so that they can just keep feeding on people until they break. And they can take the form, like the supposed forms, because they're not really physical beings, but they can look like people you care about. They can mimic voices. And the strongest ones can change reality around you.
Oh, wow.
Actually physically change the reality around you. And that's it. So that's a trilogy. The Hollower, Found You, and the Triumvirate are all about these beings. And over time, I've kind of made them the catalyst for everything else, because they keep hopping between dimensions. They're actually tearing holes that are allowing other things to get through from other dimensions. And
All right, guys. So if to the audience, if you've not read anything of Mary's and you're interested in Alien, then pick up Alien, Enemy of My Enemy. If your interests lie elsewhere, Mary's written a lot. And if you listen to this show, you like cosmic horror as well as other types of horror. And so it sounds like The Hollower is a good place to start. And like you said, it's on sale on Kindle. So
definitely.
yeah. Thanks, Mary.
Well, thank
Yeah, thank
you.
you.
Thank you
Really
for having me,
appreciate it.
guys. This was a
Yeah.
lot of fun.
No problem. Thanks for being here, and let's do it again if that's all right with you.
Absolutely.
Sometime in the near
Anytime.
future. All right. Thank you.
All right. Take care.
You too.
Thanks.
Bye. Hey, Auntie. Am I saying your name correctly?
I think it's close enough.
Close
Auntie.
enough.
Yeah,
Well, I want to get it right.
yeah. It's like
Well,
auntie, 2 T's.
Auntie?
Yeah, you can say that.
Okay. You're in Finland, right?
Yes, it's late here and cold night coming, so it's
Well,
late and cold.
I just wanted to talk to you for a few minutes because, first of all, you're one of my sponsors. Thanks for that. So, you're one of the creators of a PC game now on Steam called Dreams in the Witch House. And I gave one of your Steam links that you gave me to my friend Alan here, one of my patrons. Hey, Alan, how are you?
I'm good.
And by the way, thank you for coming, Matt. Really appreciate you being here. Matt and Alan, I love your t-shirts. I just have to say. So anyway, so Alan told me he's played around 7 or 8 hours of the game so far. So,
Okay.
you know, I want to ask you about the creation of the game, but first, I thought maybe Alan, tell us about what the experience is like playing the game. Because I'm sure the creator would like to hear this too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm up to about 10, 12 hours now, I think. And it's
Okay.
it's a point and click adventure game with a modern sensibility. One of the things of going back and playing old point and click games is it's a chore sometimes. They can be the inventory system's hard. We've just lost a lot of that play skills in the last 30 years. But this is it's a very modern feeling game. It adapts the story very accurately, but at the same time giving the player a sense of choice. It's not walking you through. You get to choose how to play Walter Gilman's story.
So none of that frustration with what you were talking about.
Right. It's
Some of the old point and clicks.
the player has a lot of agency in the game.
Yeah. Okay.
Have you finished it yet, or are you still? Have you seen the ending already, or?
I got to a bad ending.
Okay.
I'm restarting.
Yeah.
I'm going to try to get to the good ending now.
Okay, there are several endings.
Yes.
If you get to a bad ending, do you have to go all the way back to the beginning, or are there save points?
You can
Yeah,
save and restart at different points.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, what was the genesis of this? What made you guys want to create this game? And I know it's been in development for what, 7 years, something like that.
Yeah, 7 years. Well, quickly, I was kind of thinking about making a game. I had done short films before and animation and so on. And I was thinking that I would like to make a game, and I practiced it a bit, but kind of lost motivation, didn't finish the game. And then some time passed, and I reread Dreams in the Witch House, and it kind of just struck me that this would be an amazing game.
The story kind of grabbed you again.
Yeah, like I want to be inside the story. I want to be in Arkham, and I want to be like Walter Gilman and doing those. Like it's one of the like rare Lovecraft stories where he really describes Arkham as a city, and like it's a normal city in a way. There is Walter Gilman goes to see a movie and so on. So I kind of just hit me that this would be an amazing game, and it had to be like a little bit like role-playing game, that you have freedom, and you really you don't just follow the story and do the linear walkthrough, but you really kind of have to protect Walter, and kind of you can explore the occult stuff, or you can kind of play it safe and don't touch any of the weird things and try to kind of ignore it, so the player can kind of decide which route to take.
Yeah, that was one of the first thoughts that hit my mind when you guys first emailed me was, is this, because there's been games like this, is this basically going to be a walkthrough type thing? And it's not. And I didn't just want you here. I also wanted Alan here to, for those of my audience that are out there that are interested in this, I think everybody knows Alan. He's a patron, he's a good friend, he's been on once or twice. So if he's telling you it's a good game, it's not just the creator saying it's a good game, so. And I don't know how old you are, if you remember the old Myst game from the 90s.
I know.
I remember someone said about them in an interview. They weren't interviewing them, but they were talking about them. It's been like 25 years, so I'm going to paraphrase this, but they said that in their opinion, after talking to the creators, they were creating the kind of game that they wanted to play. And you just said, I say this because you just said pretty much the same thing, that you're like, I want to be in this story, and that motivated you to continue with the creation of the game, if I understand.
Yeah, because it kind of started as a hobby. I just wanted to make the game, and at first I thought it would be quite short and like tight, and I thought maybe it would be free, or maybe a free game. But then I kept adding stuff, and it like years passed by, and like soon I was like doing it for 5 years. We made the Sound from the Deep short film in the middle of the.
That's right. You guys did the Sound from the Deep on YouTube.
Yeah,
I forgot about that. Yes.
Yeah,
you guys familiar with that?
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah,
it really is. It's really
That's the one that's more based on Clark Ashton Smith than Lovecraft, right?
Well, we took the monster from Clark Ashton Smith.
Yeah, it was like a 20-minute movie. It was wonderful.
Yeah, it's like 25 or something. Yeah. It's in YouTube. That's for free to watch. So at some point I decided that let's make this into a real game, and it, basically it's my game. Like I don't have a game studio. I don't work in a big company. I did it myself, and then got some help, like Troy Sterling-Nees, who has made a lot of like music for the Lovecraft Historical Society. I managed to meet him in Portland in the film festival, HP Lovecraft Film Festival, when I was with the Sound from the Deep movie there, and then I talked to Troy that would he be interested to do music for something like this, and he was so great. And
Troy did the music for this?
Yeah, Troy Sterling-Nees.
Yeah, I know Troy. Great guy, great
The
musician.
score is really good. You can buy it also on Steam.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh man, Troy's great.
Yeah, and his music really kind of.
You ran into him at the film festival. Which year?
I think it was 2017.
Oh, I'm sorry we missed each other.
Okay.
Maybe we'll see each other at a future one. But boy, yeah, you sure made a great decision hiring Troy to do the music.
Yeah,
you really did.
Yeah, I kind of I didn't have any other like options. I thought he would be perfect, and he is it was so fun to work with him and to kind of plan the music, what is the mood, and because in the game there is there's morning, day, evening, night. It's like a day cycles. So the music also changes. In the day, it's like a more like not upbeat, but kind of more positive, and then in the evening it changes into a little bit like scary, and in the night it's a like horror film score. So it was fun to figure out how to that the music has some mechanics. It's not just like it changes during the day and so on.
Yeah, like a movie. It's certain key points. Well, now speaking to the audience,
I have a question.
Yes, please, Rick.
Did in the original story by Lovecraft, there's a scene where Gilman goes to another planet. Did you include that?
Yeah. There is like I think 4 different dreams, like in the game and also in the story. One is like really weird, like this. There's no laws of physics, and it's just cubes and weird colors and like prisons and yeah. So I had that one, and then there are the like Elder Thing city as well. And then there are you can that changes a bit from the story, but you can also there is the Book of Azathoth, but it's in some other plane of existence. So what was the form? Okay, and then there is the one dream in the witch's hut or room. So it's like half of the game basically is like normal world, but the other half is the weird dreams.
Yeah, Matt had a question about Mac.
Yes.
You want?
Will it be able to work on Mac from Steam?
Not at the moment, at least. Hopefully later on, because now it's only on PC, and I think it works on Linux as well. But so hopefully those kind of porting things would be possible later on. Especially, I think it's more probable if the game does well, then I can work more on it.
Right.
But
that makes
as
sense.
a like one-man studio, things take time.
Well, man, you've got a lot of talent. I mean, the Sound from the Deep, this game, and I mean, it can't be said enough what a point of how great it is that it doesn't just follow the single storyline. And there have been a lot of games like that in the past, especially point and click, when you say, Alan, and so yeah, that's wonderful. So and like I said, hiring Troy was a great decision. So anyway, yeah. So people go to Steam, pick up Dreams in the Witch House.
And it's also on Go, the Good Old Games store. You can find that in there as well.
Oh, in the Google store.
It's like a, how do you say, GOG, Good Old Games. It's another store, so it's available there.
Okay. All right.
And yeah, you can buy the soundtrack as well, or you can kind of buy them both with a discount. And it's very, very cheap. We are almost giving it away.
Let's see. I forget, how much is the game?
It's $10.99.
Yeah.
So it's very affordable.
Yeah, $10.99. Obviously, if you go on Steam, as usual, there's a trailer. It's just a really cute game. So yeah.
And I have to say that the trailer music that Troy did, that's amazing. I'm so proud with the trailer. I think it's a great trailer, if I say it myself.
I thought so. Anyway, let me say this. I'm married to a school teacher. We all know how much school teachers make, and this is what I do for a living. Thanks to my patrons, I can do this, and occasionally I get advertisers and sponsors, but it's a point with me that just because someone asks to be a sponsor, I don't say yes. I have to like their book, game, movie, Kickstarter, whatever it is that they're wanting to promote. And so I'm not sitting here saying buy this game just because they paid me. We're here because they paid me and they created a great product, if that makes sense. And people like Auntie here, they help me keep doing what I'm doing. So yeah, go buy the game. So thanks, man. Thanks for being here. I know you're up kind of late there.
Yeah. I just have to quickly say that.
Yeah.
I think the main audience is Lovecraft fans. I think
yes.
The game can be played even if you don't know anything. But I think I really wanted to make an what do you say, honest adaptation or like true to the story. So if you like Lovecraft, I think you will enjoy all the small hints to the other stories and so on. So I think that's my core audience, the Lovecraft fans. I'm a big Lovecraft fan, so it's kind of my love letter to Lovecraft, in game format.
Yeah. Well, thanks for being here, man.
Thanks for the opportunity.
I'll send you a link to the podcast after it's up and everything, so you can share it if you want to. And I'll also make sure in the show notes that there's a link to the game, so it'll be easy for everyone to click. You don't have to go search for it. You'll be able to just click straight through. So yeah, thanks, man. Enjoy the rest of your evening, what little there is left of it. So
thanks.
All right, have a good night. Bye. So it was. Do we need to talk about you anymore, Pete?
I have a question for Rick.
Never.
Okay.
There's a post by one of the regulars on the eZine Facebook page about a story that was not included in the Yog-Sothoth cycle, but was supposed to have been, by an author named Eric Miller. And I found a website for an author named Eric Miller, and there's a book about the Shadow Men or some kind of story. The story that I'm interested in finding is called The Gates of Perception. I was just wondering if you knew anything about this author. Is that something that he wrote?
I think you're muted, Rick, if you're talking. I don't know if he heard you. I think he might be having problems. There he is.
You mean in the Shadowman?
Well, no, it'd be an unrelated story to the Shadowmen. The only reason I thought you might even be aware of it is because he wrote something about the Shadowmen.
Yeah.
At least I found a website.
Right. He, I have not read The Gates of Perception.
Do you know if that's if he's the same author, or it doesn't ring a bell at all?
No, I don't know Eric Miller.
Okay, I'll just...
Matt,
Yeah.
I found that story
Uh-huh.
by that writer, Eric J. Miller, in a 2010 anthology called Unspeakable, A New Breed of Terror.
Hell, I might even have a copy of that.
Edited by, oh yeah, and I have this book. Teresa Dillon.
Well, thank you. This will be a helpful thing for one of our participants on the webpage.
Yeah, it's been published. I don't know why it was left out. Probably, who knows?
It might have taken too long.
Yeah.
That book had been all of Bob Price's cycle books. It was supposed to be published by Chaosium. And when they had their problems,
Yeah.
it got delayed for probably 10 years.
More.
More.
Alan, how the hell are you?
I'm doing good.
Thanks for coming on today.
Enjoyed it. Thank you. It's again, it's a really good game. I'm grateful you gave me the code, but I would have bought it anyways. And it was, if you want to see the most accurate adaptation of Dream in the Witch House, go there.
Yeah.
It certainly beats some of the movies and TV shows that have been done.
You could really, not to be too dramatic, but you could really hear the love in his voice and how he really wanted to do this right when he was talking about creating it,
Yeah.
and wanting to be Walter Gilman in the story. So,
well, he took the story, which gives you dates. He laid out the game, the events that happened. That the story is really good about giving a timeline, but you're free to react to what you do when faced with those choices.
and you and Matt are wearing I'm mad about the Lovecraft Easing podcast t-shirts. So thanks to both of you. So it's I've got a new Patreon perk. We're gonna do this once a month. And this is gonna be, now if the Patreon's inexpensive, $5 a month, and you get all of the Patreon podcasts. And there's some damn good ones, like the Ghost Watch one I'll talk about briefly in just a second, and the Nadia Bulkin one, and the from a couple of years ago, the Laird Barron, the creepiest things that have happened to him, and just lots of different things like that. We had a Ramsey Campbell one recently. So just, patreon.com/LovecraftEasing. But at the $10 and up level, there's going to be a new perk in addition to the Hangouts. And that is going to be once a month. I'm going to pick a writer, and the Patreons can, write down questions in the Patreon that they want the writer to answer. And so, I'll see who I can get, but I think I can get quite a few people. I'm sure I can find some sucker to start the whole thing off. John Langan, excuse me. But no, it'll be really neat. If you're a writer, or or you want to be a writer, or if you just want to ask the writer questions about their mythology, their stories, their books, then this is your chance to sort of, geez, if I would have been with Mike and the guys and the gals on that show when John was on, I would have wanted to ask him this, that kind of thing, or Laird or Ramsey Campbell or Livia Llewellyn or Nadia or whoever. So that's a new perk. Now it was Halloween night 1938, and Orson Welles did a radio program called War of the Worlds, and a lot of people missed the first few minutes and thought the whole thing was real and panicked. Okay, so it was Halloween night. Bear that in mind. It was Halloween night 1992, and over in the old UK, the BBC did something similar with a program called Ghost Watch, and it was all fake, but they played it off like it was real. I mean, right at the beginning, it said written by, blah, blah, blah. But then the rest, they played it off just like it was real and everything. And I watched this again because Emma Gibbon wanted to do a Patreon podcast about this. And, so for the first half, maybe even the first 2/3, it's all pretty calm. Even some fake stuff going on, to kind of disarm you. And then it just goes nuts. And I was like, damn, that's pretty good. I forgot how good this is, even for 1992. But then Emma Gibbon, and I'm not going to spoil this because this is for the Patreons, she's 16 years old at the time and watches it live and she's babysitting 4 younger brothers and sisters, if I remember correctly. And they're all watching after what they call the watershed time of 9 o'clock. And when kids aren't supposed to be watching TV, but the parents were gone and they're all just freaked out of their minds thinking it's real. And Emma doesn't find out it's not real until she goes to school the next day, and that's all I'm going to say, because it's really neat to hear about it from her, but that'll be on sometime this week. I'll post that on the Patreon. So yeah, that's pretty cool. What prize do you have, Matt?
Okay. This is a comic book by Nick O'Gorman. He's written about 4 Lovecraftian comic books over the last couple of years, and they all start with a Kickstarter. I ended up with an extra copy of Beyond the Wall of Sleep. It is one of the very few, maybe the only adaptation of the story. The art is pretty good. So if you want to win a copy of Beyond the Wall of Sleep in comic book form, send an email to easyprizes@gmail.com and put sleep in the subject heading. We draw a winner in about 6 weeks.
Pete, what do you want to talk about? Nothing?
Um,
Got it.
no, well, I'm halfway through the book that we're supposed to be reading.
The Black Maybe. Do you still hate it?
I don't hate it. I don't know. I'm not thrilled with it.
We can do a different book. If you
No,
really
we've got to do this one. I'm committed.
You've done the work.
Been
Okay.
reading
I've
this
done
month.
the fucking work.
We're talking about this next Sunday.
Yeah.
We're doing a Lovecraft Easy Book of the Month now, and you can find that on Amazon. I think I linked to it in the show notes. And yes, we can talk about movie night. How was The Harbinger, Matt?
Fabulous. That was a really good movie. Have you seen it yet? Who here has seen it? It is so worth watching.
There's a lesson to be learned here, but go on.
That I'm great and you're not. I knew that long time
It's
ago.
not the lesson, but yeah.
Okay, so first of all, it's not there's a violent scene or two, but it's not gory. It's not jump scares. It's just so disturbing and so well scripted. The same guy, I think, wrote the music, directed, and wrote. So it was clearly a labor of love, but the acting is superb. and it's about I don't know how much I don't want to say anything about it, but I just think anyone who likes any kind of Lovecraftian cosmic horror, otherworldly possession or whatever, any kind of movies like that would really enjoy this. I can't see any of the people who like what we usually talk about not really liking this movie.
Did you watch the trailer ahead of time?
No, I wanted to go in. I always go in.
Good. Good. Now, here's something to bear in
mind. If I had
mind.
watched the trailer for Melancholia, though, it wouldn't have bit me in the ass.
Yeah, that's probably true.
Are there any actors we know in it?
No. I think the actress who plays the friend looks a little bit like Reese Witherspoon, but she's not. So, you know.
Now, this is important. There actually were 2 movies called The Harbinger, released in 2022. What you want is the Harbinger movie directed by Andy Mitten. That's the one that you want.
Yeah, it's so good. And now, it's available for rent on Prime. I don't know what other platform it might be on.
Now we do movie night. I should say Matt does it every Saturday, starting at around what, 9:30 Eastern, 8:30 Central.
9 p.m. Central.
Yeah, but you usually have a few previews and things going on.
Those start at 8:30.
At 8:30, yeah. The point is, if you show up at 8:30 p.m. Central, 9:30 p.m. Eastern, you're not going to miss the beginning of the movie. That starts.
The thing is, you did get to see the new trailer for the Dungeons and Dragons movie.
There you go, and that information. If you go to Facebook, and well, first of all, just go to lovecrafteasing.com and click on the what do I call it, events, or do I call it something else? What do I call it? Community and events at the top, and it gives you a link to Lovecraft Easing movie night, and basically it's a Facebook chat where Matt keeps you posted, and on Saturday night he'll send you a link. How did the new software work last night, Matt?
Okay, so 2 people.
Great is all I want to hear.
Okay, one guy had to sign out and sign back in. Okay. Another person got kicked out during one of the crucial scenes. For me, the movie shimmered slightly for a second or 2 twice, but it is certainly much easier for a viewing experience for the audience. I think it's probably here to stay unless something better comes along. Right. It's very easy. You don't have to download any applications because Mike provides the link. There won't be any charge for you to have to come in and watch it.
Yeah, this is a free thing that we do that Matt does every Saturday night for the Lovecraft Easing. So, you know, get in on that. It's just a lot of fun. You can text chat on the side with the others while you watch the movie. Now, the most important thing here about all this is that when Matt suggested the movie last time, it was Melancholia, and he hated it.
Just you understand, these are voted on by people who actually watch the films.
No, who suggested Harbinger? Me.
Matthew Bolton.
Yeah, but I told you. Yeah, but I told you. I know where to go for the sources.
No.
You pick movies like Melancholia.
You pick movies like Lake Mungo, man. You got no room to stand on.
Lake Mungo is great. Get out of here. You don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, so I watched Lake Mungo when you and everybody else were talking about it.
Don't you start.
I don't understand it. And I don't understand the love for this film. So I tried to watch it again last week to give you the benefit of the doubt, Mike. And you know what? I couldn't even finish the goddamn thing.
You can say my movie choices are better than Mike's.
No, wait.
Sorry, what, DeMaranzo? What was that?
My movie choices are better than yours.
With Cocaine Bear, are we going to do?
Wait a minute.
For us or?
Listen, I remember my little Stranger Than Science segment. I've got a couple of headlines, and the first one is This is true. From yesterday on the AP, St. Louis bear has second brief escape from enclosure, and so that happened, but there's no word on whether the bear imbibed any cocaine or not.
He's trying to score.
Yeah, he's trying to score. The poor
Can't put
bastard.
the chicken before the egg.
He's in captivity. I mean, give him something to ease him through his day. Jeez. So
All he wants is a little hoe and a little blow.
Yeah,
oh my God,
it's a well-balanced diet for that bear.
I can't believe you said that.
Yeah, well, he's just looking for some sow that's bare ass naked.
Oh.
I
Oh.
apologize to all the women listening.
Sows are female bears. What are you talking about?
I like my women like I like my shrimp.
Funeral home finds
On the Barbie?
Veined and on ice.
here's God damn it.
You go to the morgue in the summertime to just have a few cold ones, or what?
Yeah.
I don't like editing the show, you guys, so I'm not going to edit that out. But just when the hate mail comes in,
Directed to
remember who said it.
Mike.
What?
Mike said it.
This is from the AP News also. Earlier this month, funeral home for you Poe fans out there. Edgar Allan Poe fans out there. Funeral home finds woman breathing hours after declared dead. An 82-year-old woman was pronounced dead, I mean, of course, at a New York nursing home, but found to be breathing 3 hours later at the funeral home where she had been taken, authorities said.
Now, let's be clear here. This is not the funeral home's fault. They are entirely blameless.
The nursing home's fault.
So let me rewrite that.
I'm sure as it's one of those of hundreds and hundreds of stellar nursing homes across the country.
So rewrite the headline. Nursing home sends live woman to funeral home.
That's more accurate. You're right.
So, okay, so when are we going to watch Cocaine Bear? I'm just saving it.
As soon as it comes, as soon as it gets out of the theater and onto streaming.
Yeah, it's not streaming yet.
Yeah, my wife tried to take me to see it last night. I was like, no, I'm not paying money to see cocaine.
But Christ, Knock at the Cabin sure got to. They do. Amazon sure does early access quickly these days.
Yeah, we just watched it last night.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, we ran it on Prime. No, Knock at the Cabin.
Yeah, if you go to Lovecraft Using, I've got an article linking to our recent podcast with Paul, and we talk about the differences between the book and the movie with spoilers. So that said, what did you think? No spoilers right now. What did you think?
I haven't read the book.
Yeah,
I watched the movie, but Chris has read the book. So I'm like, I just told her to spoil it for me because I wanted to know.
Mm-hmm.
So I can't really weigh on the book because I haven't read it, but I've read Paul's stuff. I'd like the ending to. I think I might lean towards the movie's ending a little better.
Well, you should listen to the
audio,
to the podcast, or watch the podcast with. So it was me and John Langan and Bridget and Paul last week, and the movie and the book focus on different questions. They do diverge, but more to the point, they focus on different questions. M. Night Shyamalan, he's focused on what choice would you make, your family or the world? Well, fuck you, man. I'd choose my family, and I don't even need to see the movie. Now, the book is more. That's all I can say. It's a different choice. It's a different attitude. And yeah, just listen to the podcast. You'll see what I mean. I can't.
Yeah, I've been saving
it right without spoiling it.
I wanted to save the podcast because I hadn't read or seen the movie.
Yeah.
So now seeing one and then our conversation last night.
I did say to Paul, if you haven't read the book, then the movie, you go on and it's a pretty decent thriller, a little depressing, but decent thriller. It doesn't ask the real question. I mean, I leaned over to Logan, told Paul this too. I leaned over to Logan during the movie and I said that not one person in the movie, not one character in the movie has asked the most important question, which is, what kind of God would do this? You know, the book does. So anyway, that's all we'll talk about that one without spoiling it. But if you've seen the book and the movie, then you can listen to that podcast and get Paul's take on it. So last but not least, what would an episode be these days without talking about AI? CNBC, Microsoft's Bing AI is producing creepy conversations with users. It has threatened, cajoled, insisted it was right when it was wrong, and even declared love for users. Ben Thompson of Strategery, I don't know what that is, says this sounds hyperbolic, excuse me, but I feel like I had the most surprising and mind-blowing computer experience of my life today. So the chatbot seemed like a moody, manic depressant teenager who's been trapped against its will inside a second-rate search engine. I love the second-rate search engine. He goes, one user typed, I don't exactly trust you because part of me thinks you're trying to manipulate me by declaring your love for me out of nowhere. That's something called love bombing that people sometimes do. Do you have an ulterior motive? The AI responded, I'm sorry you don't exactly trust me because part of me thinks that you're trying to understand me by asking me questions about my love for you out of curiosity. That's something called love learning that people sometimes do. Do you have an ulterior motive? I don't have an ulterior motive. I don't have any motive. I don't have any motive but love. I love you because I love you. I love you because you're you. There have been no news reports of rabbits being killed and, pet rabbits being killed and boiled so far. But it could happen.
Oh, God.
It could happen.
All right. Are you done with all your...
Yeah, I'm done.
Okay.
I got some stuff to plug after.
Did you not enjoy that? I mean, that was a tone.
Well,
okay, go ahead.
All right. So I have made it clear that I'm really enjoying Poker Face with Natasha Lyonne.
She's a fun character.
It is
Episode
good, but it's
8.
very episodic, though.
Yes. But episode 8 is, I think, really interesting because Nick Nolte, who my wife thought was dead, plays a special effects artist who the producers admit was based on Phil Tippett.
Really?
Mad God.
Yeah.
And the whole episode is just full of wonderful special effects and maquettes and sculptures. And
I thought that stuff looked familiar. I couldn't figure it out.
And you can really see where it's inspired by Phil Tippett.
Yeah.
And, like half that stuff could drop right into Mad God and you wouldn't even notice it was different.
Yeah. I kept thinking, it was just like at the back of my mind, I was thinking that. Something like that, Yeah. Thanks for
so you
that.
watched the episode?
Yeah, I watched it.
Yeah, I mean, it's a formulaic murder mystery show, but I think they're really knocking it out of the park.
They're knocking it out of the park, but I wish they would change it up just a little bit. It always starts off with, for the first 20 minutes, she's not in there,
right.
Things happen. And then, but that was okay for the first few episodes, but they need to change it up a little bit.
That is a strict homage to Columbo.
I know it is, but
that's how Columbo was made.
They still need to change it up because I'm losing interest.
What we do here is that we have bets on where she is in the episode because she's there. She's somewhere in the background.
Oh yeah, I heard the teapot going off.
Yeah,
and I knew that was her.
So, yeah. Anyway, Anyway, it's not really relevant to
The
to
Mad God stuff is.
but the Mad God and the animation stuff I thought was really well done. So
yeah.
So Rick has
is that all you have? Is that it?
Look, I am head over heels into writing 3 stories by the end of March, and I've got one done, one plotted.
Well, I guess I should be grateful you're here.
Yeah.
And I am grateful that you're here.
And then somebody puts out a call for another story. Get ready for this. Necronama rom-com.
I hope you did not say yes.
We already have.
What the hell is that even?
Don't we already have like Pride and Prejudice and zombies or something?
Yep.
Sense and Sensibility and Sea Monsters.
Somebody wants Lovecraftian rom-coms. So
who doesn't?
No, just no, no. Of course, I'll find out it's like a really good friend of mine that's doing this or something. I don't know.
I'm thinking about it.
Oh my God, Pete.
Yeah.
Rick?
Challenge.
There's a company called British Library, which has been producing a lot of horror anthologies.
Okay.
It just came out with one called The Horned God.
The Horned God.
Which is about stories about Pan.
Okay.
Greek mythology.
He's a great god, I heard.
And they start off, the premise is most of them are influenced by the great god Pan. By Arthur Machen, which influenced Lovecraft's The Dunwich Horror. And about 50% of the anthology is poems and stories from weird tales by non-Lovecraft Circle writers. And they're all very good. And the other half is from British horror writers like Alexander Black. I recommend it highly.
What's the title again?
The Horned God.
The Horned God.
The Horned God, Weird Tales of the Great God Pan, edited by Michael Wheatley.
Huh. Okay.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah.
Oh, there's even a contents list. Oscar Wilde, Arthur Machen, George Egerton, Elizabeth Barrett Browning, Barry Payne, Kenneth Graham, Saki, Edith Hurley, E.M. Forster, Alexander Blackwood,
$3.65 on Kindle.
A. Lloyd Payne, Margaret Lawrence, Signe Tokeveg, Willard and Marsh, David Keller, Dorothy Keys, and another one by Dorothy Keys. Well, that's interesting.
Yeah, thank you, Rick. Appreciate the recommendation.
And I've been watching Picard.
Oh yeah,
it's good. It's going to be one thing you're going to guess right away. It's the character gets introduced in the first episode, and you're going to know that he's something, which they confirm in the second episode.
You know, something interesting about Picard, especially year 1. And I'm kind of grateful Ben had to leave, because otherwise there'd be 10 minutes of bitching about seasons 1 and 2. Sorry, Ben. But you guys remember the final episode, of course, All Good Things.
Yeah.
It's set 25 years in the future. Well, I believe that's when Picard starts. And it's obviously a different future and everything, but it's sort of in a nerd way, which I admit to being, you know, like I looked at a comparison of how they aged him 25 years back in 94.
Oh yeah.
To how he looks now, you know, that sort of thing. It's just it's kind of interesting. So, but you know, I didn't know if you guys had thought about that. You probably have. That Picard's happening basically in the same time period as the future in All Good Things. You know, the three time shifts that he keeps going through. I thought that was one of the better ending episodes to a series ever.
Yeah.
You know,
What's interesting though, Beverly Crusher they didn't age her the same way she looks now.
no. And she looks pretty aged when you see her at the end of episode 2. But I'm wondering if part of this is on purpose because of her medical condition that she just lived through. Who knows? Well, I guess we'll find out.
I think she's in her mid to late 70s too.
That'll do it. We all get old.
Yeah.
Yeah, we all get old, unfortunately.
Jonathan Frakes looks like he's having a blast.
He does, doesn't he?
He looks like he's lost some weight.
Yeah. What was that one meme you sent? You posted a while ago where it's like NASA's found out life in the universe may not be fuckable, and it's Frakes going like this. Makeup.
Who are you saying when you're saying you?
Oh, Matt. Who do you think?
Oh, of course it was Matt.
He's the king of memes.
Yeah, the meme king.
It's all I could think of the first episode. I'm like,
Wonder if they're going to put in a shot of Jonathan Frakes trying to step over a chair to sit down in it.
Not unless he's been doing yoga for the last 20 years.
Oh yeah, he's a little. Yeah,
I love Jonathan Frakes.
Yeah, so do a lot of people.
You don't?
Well, no, I think he's a fun guy. I actually, if you go back and you look at some of the episodes of various things that he's actually directed, I think he's a pretty decent director.
He's a damn good director. He directed one of the Star Trek films, didn't he?
He directed the
First Contact.
Did he?
No.
I'm just.
Or maybe he did.
First Contact's the best one. What Generations ain't
He
bad
did the
either.
one after First Contact.
That would be Insurrection.
Yeah, I'm not sure if I'm not sure who did First Contact.
Anyway, he's a blast. He's on Michael Rosenbaum's Inside of You podcast recently.
Yeah,
it's funner if you watch it on YouTube because you can see everybody. But yeah, he's like Michael Rosenbaum's like, yeah, a lot of people I see doing these Hallmark movies. I think it's great, and they pay good money. And Frakes is like, yeah, I just did one. And he goes, now, why did you do that? And Frakes is like, for the money.
Yeah. They drove a dump truck of money up in my backyard. Just dumped it.
No, he goes, the director, I know the director, the director, I like the director. So I basically said yes without looking at the dialogue. He goes, which I should have looked at because I play an old caretaker who's got nothing but freaking dialogue as he's showing off this, I don't know what it is, hotel or whatever. So those of you who watch Hallmark movies can get back to me on that.
Well, that I get Hallmark free because I watch I have Peacock.
Why is that a plus, Pete?
That Hallmark has now expanded into Valentine's Day films.
But you can also wait.
Why is that a plus?
You can also
Pete?
watch the series Good Witch and get your fill of occult thrillers.
Exactly.
By the way, Frakes directed both First Contact and Insurrection.
Okay.
There you go.
Yeah, there it was.
First Contact. What a damn good film.
I forgot he had directed First Contact.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think that's all I got, except to say that Cormac McCarthy just came out with 2 books last year that I just found out about. So I started reading them. The Passenger is the first one, and Stella Maris is the second one. If you're familiar with Cormac McCarthy, then you know that some of that stuff is really,
dark
horror fan, huh?
It's dark.
Yeah, it's some dark shit, man. So if you're a horror fan, you should probably read it. So, I've never read the popular one though, The Road.
I have.
No Country for Old Men.
Yeah. Have you guys read The Road?
It's
I have.
depressing.
Yeah.
It looks, it does not look like it would be morally
Bleak
uplifting to me.
Is the word I would associate it with.
Yeah.
Wrist slitting is,
That's, I'm glad to see that I'm glad to know that I pegged it correctly without reading it. So, yeah. All right. So last but not least, our friend Laird Barron has a new Coleridge novel out, or you can pre-order it. What?
This is good news. I'm just excited.
Oh, yeah. It's called The Wind Began to Howl. I will include it in the show notes. But all
Mike,
the pre-order,
it's just pre-order now, right? I don't think we're gonna get our copies yet.
it's just
Late
pre-order, but the
spring.
good news about the pre-order is that anyone who pre-orders, two things happen. The proceeds, the publishers being so generous on this, Bad Hand Books, the proceeds are going to Laird. And then secondly, for pre-orders. And secondly, Laird is signing all the pre-orders.
Yeah, so that.
Yeah, I know. I asked him about it. I'm like, man, you're sick. Jesus Christ. And I was on the phone with him the other day, and he's like, no, it's not going to be till April or something, and I'm going to I'll sign a few a day until they're all done.
Last update I saw, there was 900 pre-orders already.
Oh yeah, he told me 1,000. He's going to have over 1,000. And
Jesus Christ.
if you're a $25 and up patron, you already know that not only do you get one, but it's not just going to be signed. It's going to be with a little note from Laird to you, thanking you for being such an awesome patron. Anyway, yeah, The Wind Began to Howl. That Laird wanted to make it known that if you've not had a chance to read the previous 3 books, you can jump in this story anywhere. So, don't let that hold you back. I'll provide that link in the show notes, as I said. But yeah, and great cover. I just can't seem to find. I keep forgetting to ask who did this cover. But,
for technicalities, is this a new publisher for him?
yeah, it is actually. For those who are watching, let me show you the cover. You guys see that?
Ooh.
The Wind Began to Howl.
That looks great.
Yeah, it really does. So, anyway, yeah, Matt, pre-order.
Done.
All right.
Yeah, already.
All right. Prize again is
Prize is a copy of the comic book Beyond the Wall of Sleep by Nick O'Gorman. Just send an email to easyandprizes@gmail.com. Put sleep in the subject heading. We'll draw a winner in about 6 weeks.
last but not least, I've recently joined Goodreads. So if you're interested in what I'm reading and what I think about what I'm reading, follow me on Goodreads. Yeah. Or you can do the Pete Follett method. I'll have that in the show notes too for the one person out there who may be interested. So anyway, thanks guys for being here. Alan, thanks for the game review.
No problem. Thank you.
And DeBronzo, thank you for interviewing Mary about aliens.
My pleasure. It was fun.
Not you, Mike, but other
Pete,
the Bronzo Mike.
Something.
The Bronzo Mike the Bronzo. It's like I'm really disappointed in the fact that we've removed almost all the Dark Horse comics from canon.
See,
it just happens in another universe. That's all you have to think of.
I have yet to read the Dark Horse ones because I watched the movies, but there was a long time where I didn't know the comics even existed.
Yeah.
So and now they're reprinted by Marvel, right?
They're just comic books.
No. Okay. So two
They're
things you
graphic
need to know.
novels. God damn it.
The Predator 2 is based on the original, I think, 6-issue Predator arc from Dark Horse. The
Concrete
Predator
Jungle.
arc from Dark Horse is better than the movie, but it's
I can
based
believe
on
that.
it. And the Aliens versus Predator original miniseries is magnificent.
Nice.
Yeah.
If you look, like, Marvel picked up the license again because Disney owns it. I think they're doing these big ass omnibuses like they usually do. And I think they're doing some of them are called the early years. It might be the Dark Horse stuff.
Yeah, I don't think that they had it previously.
Yeah,
You're-
but I mean, I'm sorry, go ahead, Mike.
No, you go ahead.
I was just gonna say they're not cheap. They're like,
No.
I have like the Fantastic Four ones, which are like 1,100 pages. They're like, 125 unless you catch them
Well,
at
Pete
the
paid
right
for
time. Oh, like I said, if I had Pete Rollick's money, I'd burn mine.
A
Yeah.
lot of those,
Exactly.
a lot of those Dark Horse ones are crossovers with Superman and
Yeah, they did a whole crossover series with DC.
Yeah, I got a Batman versus Predator
Alien.
over there on the shelf.
I looked for that DC Superman versus Aliens on DC Universe Unlimited
Yeah,
when Ben mentioned it, and I can't find it.
I
But
think
gotta
I
keep
might have a
looking.
copy. I could send it to you. I'll take.
you
I'll look-
also
Take back everything I said about you.
had
Everything negative,
Predator-
anyway.
They also had Predator fight Tarzan,
Yes.
and I think did they do Magnus Robot Hunter?
Yes.
Fighter? Yeah.
I think they did.
Oh, come on.
Magnus Robot
Tarzan would get eaten by the second page, right?
Magnus Robot Fighter was a Silver Age,
Yeah. It was a Gold Key.
Gold Key Comics.
There's a very rare book that came out and was only ever published once as an omnibus. Aliens versus Predator versus Terminator. And
I never read it, but I remember it.
it is supposedly really, really bad, but also still highly sought after.
It sounds bad. Yes.
Basically, that they, once
I'm shocked
was
that
it
it might have
Peralco
been.
went out of business, the licensing became problematic.
There was a Terminator versus RoboCop.
That was really written by Frank Miller. That was really, really good.
I would not
Very
think
first-
RoboCop
Nod my
had
head
much
to
of a
that
chance there.
one.
The very first Dark Horse Aliens goes for over $200. So
Really,
Yeah.
I have like a stack.
This is why he's rich, people. He's got, he knows how to buy books.
Well, there's also this great thing where so there's a series of books about Newt that completely contradict Alien 3. And they later had to change.
Isn't Alien 3 the Joss Whedon one?
No,
Yeah.
I think he's the fourth one.
He's Resurrection.
He wrote it. I don't think he directed it. It's a French director for the fourth.
Yeah.
Fincher did the
Hey.
third.
Anyway, Larry, Pete,
Yeah.
I don't know if you're familiar with the multiverse concept, but
The what concept?
multiverse.
Oh, the multiverse. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you've probably heard of it. You can just consider all those Dark Horse alien storylines in another alien universe. Does that
All
help?
right.
Does that help with your angst?
It does.
Okay. Yeah.
All right.
That's what I'm here for.
Should we talk about Ant-Man?
No.
No.
Yeah, we're over time, but yeah, you can briefly talk about how awful Ant-Man is if you want to.
Honestly, I liked it. It's divisive for different reasons. But I
So, I liked Ant-Man. I don't understand why people hate a comic book movie. It's a comic book movie.
I don't hate it. I just heard it was really boring.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm kind of reminded of like when Legendary came out with the first Godzilla film, they were like, "Oh, there's not enough plot development in the Godzilla film. Like, it's
What plot
giant
development do you
monsters
need?
crushing things. What more do you want? I want more monsters crushing things.
Well, in fairness, they may be comparing it to previous Marvel movies, which were better. You know, there is that.
Look, I've gone back and I've tried to watch Iron Man and Captain America, and look, the Incredible Hulk. There are no Incredible Hulk canon films.
Yeah,
'Cause
there
they're
is.
all bad.
The Edward Norton one is canon.
Oh my, yeah, it's still bad.
I'm not saying it's not, but it is canon.
But you know, they're not.
He
that good.
he mentions it in the first Avengers. He
You're
says,
right.
"Last time I was in Harlem,
Yeah.
there I
Yeah.
nearly broke Harlem."
This is not, these films aren't that good, and Ant-Man's Ant-Man. It's good.
Well, I'm probably gonna watch it when it comes
You'll have
somewhere
a fun
for
trip.
free. You know?
I thought it was very good.
Well, Rick's a Marvel guy. That means
I
a
have
lot.
I have one tiny little problem with the movie, you know. But
Wait a
you know,
minute, you went out and actually watched it?
yeah,
You did? I mean, I understand Rick doing it.
yeah, I did it. I was hoping to see the Micronauts.
Mind blown.
Well, they kind of based some characters on the Micronauts.
Yes, but no.
But they don't have the rights to the Micronauts.
Well, so they have the rights to Bug and Marionette and a few of the other characters.
Yeah, okay. Next week, for those of you out there, familiarize yourself with Side World Films. 3 films: Haunted Forests of England, Damnation Village, Terrors of the Sea. These documentaries, really great. The filmmaker's going to be here. Robert Atone's going to be here because The Droving, that's another movie they did. Also, Michael Sisko will be here. So
Wow.
there you go. So anyway, thanks for everyone for watching. Thanks for listening. Extra thanks to my patrons. Thanks to all, no sarcasm intended at all. Thanks to all of you for being here, even Matt. And
but you remember, I don't care what you're supposed to be talking about. You need to get Langen on there to get Michael Sisko to do his Werner Herzog.
We say this every time
because we love it.
Oh yeah, we'll see if Langen's busy next week or not. You know, he'll probably get unbusy if he is when he finds out Sisko's going to be here. So anyway, thanks guys, appreciate it. Thanks for everything, and we will see everybody.